Hello, 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 everybody. Let me pull this up here. I have not put on my blue nose yet, but I have my palette here and my brush, so I will be doing so right after we do the astro-weather. But it is a yearly Halloween tradition, folks. We are doing spooky story time here at the Tarot by Hilary live stream with reading The Blue-Nosed Witch by Margaret Embry, which is to me a classic. And, I read it every year. So since I read it every year, might as well read it on the live stream closest to Halloween. And since Halloween is on Monday, and this is the last night of October, last Friday night in October, we are going to be reading this. So let me check my settings, make sure that everything's running correctly before I put on my blue nose, and we'll get started. And I know I say this, guys. I know I say this, but I do have to keep it tight tonight because we're having a family dinner for my mother-in-law for her birthday. So I've got to scoot my booty out of here right after we're done with spooky story time and the weekend forecast. So there will be no mid-episode reading happening tonight, just to let you all know. But yeah, let me introduce myself first. If this is the first time you're watching the live stream, I am Hilary, professional tarot reader and EFT practitioner, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with the most beautiful gifts, your own intuition. Because yes, my friends, do not argue with me. You have intuition. Not only are we doing spooky story time tonight, this is a little bit of a celebration because my author copies of my first tarot book, How to Read Tarot from Flame Tree Publishing, came in this week. So I would really encourage you to watch that live unboxing, unveiling of my author copies. And if you haven't picked up a copy of How to Read Tarot yet, I would suggest that you do so, and you can order on my website, tarotbyhilary.com/book. That'll take you to the main landing page for information about my book, and then it'll give you links to where you can purchase. Whew, okay. Let me say what I was do what I was saying and make sure that we are broadcasting correctly here. So let me make sure we are on the tube of you and the book of face. And if you're here watching live, please feel free to comment and tell me where you're watching from. Okay, let's see. Looks like that one's working. And looks like we're up and running there too. Cool. It works. It works, it works, it works. Okay, great. So let me put on my blue nose, and then we will do the astrology for the top of the episode, and then we will start the reading of The Blue-Nosed Witch by Margaret Embry. And Katie is here. Hello, Katie. Welcome, 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 welcome. All right. Let me affix my blue nose. By the way, if you've ever been wondering what color I use for my blue nose for these yearly readings, the yearly spooky story time of reading of The Blue-Nosed Witch, I use the, so it's the smoked palette from Urban Decay. I don't know how old it is. Pretty old, I would wager. But I'm still using it. It still works for me. And the color is called Evidence. So there's the palette there. It did come with a very nice black eyeliner, like jet black eyeliner. I don't know where that is. I think I might have run out of it, but it used to come right there. But yeah, see, if you look at all these different colors, I love, if I'm just doing like a regular eye, I'll use the colors Kinky and Freestyle. So like beigey and creamy. And then I'll use either Mushroom, that's like kind of a silvery brown, or Bar Lust on my lid. And sometimes Asphalt, which is like the gray here. But For tonight, we are using the color Evidence, which is a bright blue, and you'll see why I'm affixing the blue to my nose. Yeah, it has such a nice shine to it. So it has a little bit of like an iridescence to it. I don't know, can you tell it's blue though in the light? I don't want to apply too much because I'm just gonna have to take it out before I go out to dinner. Or not, as the case may be. There we go. Yeah, good. Oh, so Katie's saying, love your earrings. Yes, I got these at Second Saturday, which was an event in, I think it was Bridgeport, Connecticut. So the event that I went and I did readings at, and it was so hot that day. I think it was in August or September? I can't remember, but it was so freaking hot that there was really not a lot of people out, and I totally couldn't blame them. But then I took a little walk around and I got these, and they are, I think, a black light, like they do glow too, but I don't know if you can prove that here. Let's see. No, I can't tell. Put this back on. Let's lower this a little bit and make the light a little bit kinder to me. Okay. And Katie also says blue nose witch, yay. All right, is my nose appropriate? Do we have an appropriate nose going on here? I think so. Okay. Put that over there. It is warm in here. All right, are we ready for the astrology from the AstroBiz Digest by Teresa Reed? Give me a hell yeah in the chat. Oh, and then my lip color is from House Laboratories, so that's Lady Gaga's makeup line. And this is Le Monster Matte Lip Crayon in the color Hot Rod. So it's a very bright pink, which I thought would go nicely. Though my lips are kind of dry. And I wish I had moisturized them a little bit before applying this. All right. The nose is looking good. Approved. Okay. So the astrology, the astro-weather from Teresa Reed. Let me go ahead and pull up that portion just to let you all know. This is how we usually start an episode, which is with astrology from the AstroBiz Digest, which for $99 you can get a subscription of. And that is through Teresa Reed, aka the Tarot Lady. And for some reason, I can actually remove that here, put this, so I will display it up here. So yeah, for $99, you can get a year-long subscription to the AstroBiz Digest, which is astrology in layman's terms right to your inbox every single week. And you get monthly summaries, you get all sorts of things. It is geared towards entrepreneurs and business owners, but I found it to be very helpful in my personal life. So that's what I say every single time. $99 for that year, for the year subscription. I think it's a steal. And I will give you that astrology for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because I don't want to give away the farm and take away from what Teresa's trying to do. You may want to just pick up a copy of the AstroBiz Digest for yourself, and the link is in the chat if you'd like to purchase for yourself. Okay, so let me pull this up. But we got a lot of transits that happened this week. I know that there was an eclipse that happened. Let's see. Quite a bit of stuff that happened. I have to just pull that up. There it is. Okay. So really quickly, because there was a lot going on, I'm just going to give you like a very cursory overview of what was happening this week, because I can't go into all of the details. Don't have the time to. First, there was an eclipse season kicks off on the 25th with a solar eclipse in Scorpio. So that delivers fiscal change, and it could come through in a new venture or sudden revelation, which forces your hand. Try not to do anything drastic on the day of the eclipse. Jupiter will roll back into sensitive Pisces on the 28th. So that is today. It's been in fiery Aries for a few months, which may have found you testing out plenty of new trails. But now it's time to focus on giving back and making your mark through creativity. This can come via your marketing or any project you may be currently finishing. For example, Teresa is working on book number 9, and Jupiter leaves Pisces on December 20th, where it goes back into Aries. So that's something that is going to be coming up again when we talk about the astro-weather for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, because that's today. Mercury tours mysterious Scorpio beginning on the 29th. During this transit, keeping some of your cards close to your chest is best. Instead of a big reveal, give a glimpse. Work on top secret projects or meet with power players behind the scenes. This transit is also marvelous for research and one-on-one work. If you want to reward your VIPs, have at it. You've got until November 17th to rock this vibe. And then finally, a heads up on the 30th that the month goes out on a bang when Mars stations retrograde on the 30th. It will be that way until January 12th, so pay attention. During this period, you'll want to avoid reckless spending, launching new businesses or products, aggression, online or off, and signing contracts. Do not start a war with anyone either. Whoever starts the drama loses. Because Mars is in Gemini, watch your words. For example, if you tangle with an online troll, you could harm your reputation. The best thing to do right now is to check yourself, avoid conflict, and stay busy. So that's the big transits that are going on for this week, specifically for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. All right, are we ready for the nitty-gritty? Okay, Friday. Jupiter moonwalks back into Pisces at 1:10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I already spoke about that. And P.S., it is a good thing. The moon is in a favorable aspect with Chiron at 5:14 a.m. If you need to have a truth-telling conversation with someone, this is the time. A terrific spot for a live stream or community gathering, the Moon-Saturn sextile at 2:17 p.m. Welcome new folks into your orbit or motivate the ones already present. Close up shop before 9:37 p.m. The moon will square Neptune at that time, which puts a foggy vibe into the evening. Deception is possible, the public is distracted, and meetings go nowhere. Friday is a power day for Sagittarius and a weekday for Gemini. And I am going to plug in my computer. Okay, so that is Friday today. Now for Saturday. Saturday finds the moon marching into Capricorn at 9:21 a.m., setting you up for a hella productive weekend. This is big boss energy, excellent for power meetings, decisions, and plotting your next move. Let's go. Mercury will enter Scorpio at 3:22 p.m., a transit that favors top secret everything. Already talked a little bit about what Mercury in Scorpio means. Saturday evening is pleasant with the moon in sextile with the sun at 8:20 p.m., followed by Venus at 11:41 p.m. Great transits for retreats, classes, community events, or romance. So that's Saturday. Okay, Sunday. Sunday begins on a crabby note thanks to the moon Chiron square at 7:23 a.m. Again, these are all Eastern Standard Time, so please adjust if you are in a different time zone. Stay in bed, really. Mars stations retrograde at 9:26 a.m., another challenging transit that will test your communication and patience over the next 2 months. Again, already read you the info. on Mars stationing retrograde and what that means. The energy improves when the moon trines Uranus at 2:21 p.m., an aspect associated with genius ideas and sudden opportunity. Be on the lookout for both, and you may see a biz upgrade soon. Another sunny aspect occurs when the moon is in sextile with Neptune at 11:51 p.m. This is ideal for dreaming up new products or hitting the hay. Maybe getting ideas in your dreams. Both days, Saturday and Sunday, are power days for Capricorn and weekdays for Cancer. Woo! So yeah, there's a lot going on in the astrology and the astro-weather this week. So I do want to open up the floor really, really quickly. If you happen to have a question about like, oh, my Monday was strange or my Wednesday was strange, let me know in the chat because we need to begin our spooky story time, y'all. I'm going to see if I have did I ever do a show agenda for spooky story time? I guess not. New list. Spooky story time. Or just story time even. I'm going to make a crawler. And I'm going to add Aha! All right, add another item. That'll work. So Katie says, my Thursday afternoon / evening dragged, but things got done eventually. Just really labored. Okay. So for Thursday was a Sagittarius moon, stellar for travel, adventure, and publishing. You've got this energy grooving around for the next 2 days, so enjoy. Let's see. Moon trine Jupiter, 7:01 a.m. Fantastic for sending in book proposals, jetting off to parts unknown, truth-telling sessions with your audience. Watch your words once Mercury squares Pluto at 9:09 a.m. You may think that you're delivering a powerful sermon, but your comments could be triggering. This aspect lingers around all day, so don't be careless with your words. So that might have been, so Thursday was a power day for Sagittarius and a weekday for Gemini. So it could have been watching your words, Mercury squares Pluto, which hung around all day. So that could be it, Katie. Let me know if that makes sense to you. All right, let me pull back up my stuff. All right, are we ready for spooky story time? Also, just to let you know, a couple of notes before we get started. So there are 2 new podcast episodes for your delectation. First of all, the Card Slingers Coast to Coast podcast. We have a new episode about spammers. It's episode number 66, Spammers Be Gone. And we talk a little bit about that, how to identify spammers or scammers or impersonators on the internet. And then it's a really good episode. Basically, it's just like the crux of it is we know how to spell our names. Like if our names are spelled wrong in our handles, it's probably not us. It's probably an impersonator trying to rip you off. So just be diligent. And also, we did an entire episode on spammers, scammers, and charlatans on this here live stream as well. So go back into the archives on the Tube of You or the Book of Face and check that out. So the second podcast episode that is new today is from the Tarot by Hilary podcast. And it is another episode in the Ask a Tarot Reader series. Why didn't my reading come true? And I believe that's I think it's episode 15 or 16. I haven't really been numbering my episodes, so I might need to be doing that in the future as I keep on churning them out. But those episodes drop every Friday for the Tarot by Hilary podcast. For the Card Singers Coast to Coast podcast that I host with Melissa Sonova and Jamie Elford, those drop every second and fourth Friday. So check those out. So Katie says, yes, probably the Mercury part. I was writing documentation. Aha. And now it is time. Spooky story time. Spooky story time. Yay. So this is what we do every year. You can actually go back into the archives and watch me read this book last year and the year before. I think this is our third year of reading The Blue-Nosed Witch by Margaret Embry. And I don't know why this book became just such a Halloween tradition for me. I don't know, but this is my copy of it. It is dog-eared. It's got a nice little, nice little bend to it right down the middle. And it is this is the Bantam edition from June of 1983. So I was 2 years old at the time that this came out. So obviously I don't think I was reading this when I was 2. But for some reason, probably, I don't know, this is probably a book that my sister had gotten and then it was passed down to me. Yeah. So, and I particularly love it because it has this fancy cover art, right? But the illustrations inside are who is the artist for the illustrations inside? I just saw it. I literally just saw it. Here. So this cover art is by Les Morrill, but all of the illustrations that are inside here are by Carl Rose. And that was from the original version of it. And I believe the very first printing was 1956 by Holiday House Inc. So it's an old story. It feels a little old fashioned, but I like it. So let us commence with Spooky Story Time, The Blue-Nosed Witch by Margaret Embry. I need to drink some water before I do this. And I'll take some water breaks in between. All right. Okay, we're ready to go. The Blue-Nosed Witch by Margaret Embry, with pictures by Carl Rose. And you'll learn all about the reason why my nose is blue. For Mary, who originally owned Brockett. Here's the illustration. Not more than 4 or 5 Halloweens ago, there was a very young witch named Blanche who owned a broom, a black kitten called Brockett, and a bright blue nose. She belonged to a very special scurry of witches, scurry number 13, known in the best witch circles all over the country for its beautiful flight formation. The Grand Madame, who had been leader of the club for as long as any of them could remember, flew center front. She used a vacuum cleaner instead of a broom, and when she gunned her motor, it sounded as exciting as a fire siren. On the far right was Minnie Max waving her blood-red fingernails in the dark. They really did shine like rubies. And on the far left was Blanche's best friend, Josephine, who had long, yellow, fluorescent teeth that gleamed like stars. So here is Blanche scurrying to scurry number 13 headquarters. Also, the reason why I like this copy is, watch the bottom. It has a little blue ink blot flip book. In between and a little behind flew the 9 rather ordinary witches who were only expected to follow the Grand Madame's lead and cackle with hard glee at appropriate times. And at last came Blanche, usually far, far behind. If it hadn't been for her marvelous blue nose that she could turn on and off at will, she wouldn't have been allowed in scurry number 13 at all. Blanche was always late. She had good intentions and a dependable alarm clock, but somehow she could never get started any place on time. Something always happened at the last minute to delay her. Brocket, the black kitten, would run away, or Blanche would have misplaced her broom, or she would have to finish her comic, or have just one more piece of bread and peanut butter and honey. You see, said Minnie Max to Josephine, Blanche is still just a baby, and she ought to be sent back to scurry number 2.5. Then she'd have to ride a whisk broom, not go any higher than the tops of the poplar trees, and never stay out after midnight with the rest of the grown-ups. If she's late one more time, I'm going to report her to the Grand Madame. I know Blanche is young and scatterbrained, agreed Josephine, but don't bother the Grand Madame with it. I'll take care of her. I promise she'll be on time for our next flight meeting. That's Halloween night, Minnie Max warned. Sharp at midnight, we're taking off from Dead Man's Bluff. Afterwards, if we make a good showing against the moon, there'll be dancing and chanting and a pot of brew. You'd better see that Blanche is at least a half an hour early. I'll have her there on time, promised Josephine, if I have to set her alarm an hour ahead. Here's Josephine and Minnie Max. As it turned out, Josephine switched the clock ahead, not just 1 hour, but 2, just for good measure. That probably would have been all right, but Blanche herself, as she was getting ready for bed at noon the day of Halloween, had the same good idea. She wound her clock and set it ahead an extra hour and a half, and then just a little more in case Brocket would be hard to find. But when the alarm shrieked that evening, Brocket for once was perched demurely on the bedpost right where she belonged, her fur newly licked smooth. Blanche yawned and brushed the straw out of her hair and rolled out of the bed without her usual dilly-dallying. She washed her face and hands and polished up her blue nose. Her broom was standing neatly behind the kitchen door. Brocket hopped on eagerly without having to be coaxed. The clock said 12:15, midnight. Actually, of course, it was scarcely 8:30 when they padlocked the front door and poked the key under the mat. So here's Josephine. Oh, wait, there we go. There's Josephine winding the clock back. And there's Blanche and Brocket. It's not very dark out, said Blanche to the kitten as they soared over town. We're probably much, much too early. Wonder if anyone is there yet. Blanche looked down below and saw a strange procession marching along the sidewalk. She dived lower for a better view. There was quite a tall witch in the lead. Why, that looks like Josephine. But whatever is she doing with that crowd? And walking? Maybe her broom broke down. There were 3 ghosts, a pirate, a cowboy carrying a 6-shooter and a lighted pumpkin, and a gypsy with spangled earrings. Blanche settled down on the sidewalk and fell in step beside the tall witch. At once she saw it wasn't Josephine. Oh, excuse me, said Blanche. I thought you were somebody I know. The tall witch turned and stared. She had a rubbery look to her face, and her hair was stringy and obviously false. Josephine was always so careful about her hair. So there's Blanche flying above, and there is the procession. Hey, shouted one of the ghosts. Where did you get that blue light on your nose? That's really neat. The little pirate, pulling at Blanche's skirts, pleaded, Let me see it. Let me see it. How does it work? Asked the cowboy, setting down his pumpkin. So Blanche showed them. She made her nose glow bright and then fade palely away, then bright again and wink off and on like a turn signal. Gee, said the cowboy, that's swell. I didn't see anything like that over at the dime store. Where did you buy it? Let me try it. Let me try it, begged the pirate, pulling again. I didn't buy it, Blanche said primly, and I can't take it off and let you try it. But I'll do it again for you if you'll quit yanking my dress. Leave her alone, Butch, said the tall witch, giving the pirate a shove. Turning to Blanche, she explained, He's my little brother. I told Mother he was too young to go out Halloweening with us, but he's always has to tag along. Oh, that's all right, Blanche said generously. I don't mind letting him see if he wants to. She leaned down so Butch could feel her nose carefully. Hey, if you show us how the switch works, I'll give you one of my jelly donuts, the biggest ghost offered, holding out a brown paper bag. Blanche grinned at them. There really isn't a switch at all, she said. It just works by concentration. I think about lighting up my nose and it begins to glow. When I want it to shine very bright, I think hard, like this. She wrinkled her forehead and squinted her eyes. The nose glowed a bright, clear blue. See? Simply concentration. The ghost opened his bag. That's really super, he said. Here, have a donut. Blanche reached in eagerly. She hadn't had a jelly donut in weeks and weeks. Where did you get these? They're wonderful, she said, chewing happily. Over at Smith's. They have the best stuff. Last year it was caramel apples. Come along and we'll show you which house. Blanche trailed along willingly, with Butch the pirate holding firmly to her hand. What's your name? He asked as they walked along. I'm Blanche, she said. Blanche who? Butch's sister, the tall witch, asked. Just Blanche. She's Blanche Witch, that's who, Butch said reasonably. The cowboy turned around mischievously. Which witch? And all the ghosts joined in with great glee. Blanche Witch, that's Witch Witch. They climbed the steps to Smith's front porch, all chanting the refrain, Blanche Witch, that's Witch Witch. The gypsy rang the doorbell. A man with white hair opened the door. He gaped, but candy or cake or your windows will break, they yelled at him. But you kids have all been here before, he protested. Yes, but she hasn't, they laughed, pushing Blanche in front of Mr. Smith. Her nose turns on and off, said the pirate. Show him. Blanche showed him obligingly. Say, that's really something, said the man. Come here, mother, and see this. There's Blanche eating her donut. A lady sitting in a rocking chair got up and came over to the door. She gave a little gasp when she saw Blanche's nose. Whatever will they think of next, these modern kids? Sure, that's worth 2 donuts at least, said Mr. Smith. Hold your sack. She hasn't got one, said the pirate, who had noticed right away. Mrs. Smith bustled right off to her kitchen and returned with a brown paper bag. There now, she said, and here are 3 jelly donuts, and I put in some nuts and candy corn too, because you might not have time to go to many more houses. Thank you, ma'am, said Blanche, remembering her manners. And please, could you tell me what time it is? Her husband pulled out his pocket watch. Let's see, it's just 6.5 minutes after 9 o'clock. Just after 9 o'clock, Blanche said, asked bewildered. But I thought it was nearly midnight. The time seems to be all turned around. It usually is on Halloween, laughed Mr. Smith. Anything can happen tonight. Well, good night, kids, and don't soap any windows. We won't, they shouted, racing down the steps. Good night, and thanks. They stopped at the corner and looked at each other a little uncertainly, trying to decide just what to do next. Oh, cried Blanche in a panic. I've lost my broom and my cats. The tall witch stared at her. Broom? You didn't have any broom with you. She did too, the pirate said, with a little black kitty sitting on the sweet part. I bet she left it back on Maple Street where we stopped to look at her nose, said the gypsy. Let's all walk back and help her find her stuff. The gypsy was right. The broom was exactly where Blanche had left it, leaning against a tree. Brocket was perched up in the branches, spitting at a yellow dog who was circling around below. Brocket refused to come down until the cowboy shooed the dog away. Then she jumped lightly down onto her mistress's shoulder. I think there's them looking. And then there's poor Brocket up a tree. Blanche shifted the kitten to a more comfortable position and looked around happily. Well, what do we do now? There's plenty of time. I can only go to one more place, said the short ghost, so let's hurry. Yes, we promised Mom we'd have him back by 9:15, said the biggest ghost. No, it was 9:30, said the middle-sized ghost. As long as we're out this far, the gypsy suggested, why don't we circle back by way of Old Man Skinner's house? He has apples. The others stared at the gypsy in alarm. He's mean, the pirate explained to Blanche. He sure is, the cowboy nodded in agreement and set down his pumpkin. Old Man Skinner said we stole his apples, and we didn't. The wind blew them down, but he wouldn't believe us. That was way last year, said the gypsy. He's maybe changed his mind by now, and everybody says he's got the best apples in town. I'd sure like one now. Let's go. She started walking. Bet he hasn't changed, said the biggest ghost, holding back the other two ghosts. He hit my dog with a rock last summer just because we were cutting across the back of his lot on our way down to the creek. Yeah, Old Man Skinner's got a slingshot, and he's a good shot with it too, said the middle-sized ghost. I've seen him hit birds with it way up on the telephone wires. He said they were eating his cherries. Oh, that was last spring, said the gypsy airily. Let's just go out and call on him. There he is down there. And there's the bird up there. Maybe he's lonely, said Blanche. She was thinking of those apples. We can say trick or treat very politely, and maybe he'll treat for once. The cowboy picked up his pumpkin. I'm game, Blanche. I'll go with you, but I can tell you right now he doesn't like kids, especially on Halloween. But he's never seen Blanche, the tall witch said. Maybe if he saw her wonderful nose. Yes, said the gypsy. Let's go out there and show him Blanche's keen blue nose. Then maybe he'll give us some apples. He's got some special good ones this year. I saw them on the trees. They formed another procession. Blanche was in the lead in this bunch. She carried her broom over her shoulder with Brocket sitting in place on the end. The road was long and twisty. Blanche was limping a little before they got there. Her feet hurt because she wasn't used to walking so far. Her feet hurt because she wasn't used to walking so far, but she didn't let on. There was a light behind the curtains of Mr. Skinner's house and smoke coming out of his chimney. They climbed onto the porch, giggling nervously. Miss Gypsy gave a brave 1, 2, 3 knock. No answer. He must be home, whispered the tall witch. He has a fire in his fireplace. They waited, then all of them pounded noisily. At once, the door opened a crack, and a thin, long nose hanging over a tight little mustache poked out at them. The cowboy raised his pumpkin, even though the candle was burned out by now. Trick or treat? He asked hopefully. At this, the door opened wider. 2 suspicious eyes glared. Halloweening, is it? You young pests go home where you belong. I've got no time for your nonsense. Please, sir, said Blanche sweetly, maybe have some apples? Apples, snorted the man. He scowled at Blanche a moment, then said, Want some apples, heh? You wait right here. As soon as he had disappeared, the gypsy and the tall witch nodded, as if to say, Didn't we tell you? But the pirate said maybe he didn't go to get apples. Maybe he went for a slingshot. Shut up, Butch, his sister whispered. He's gone down to the cellar for apples. The gypsy shook her earrings and straightened her scarf. She wasn't so sure now. I want to go home, said the smallest ghost in a trembling voice. Yes, said the biggest ghost, shakily too. We promised Mom we'd be home with him by 9:15. At that moment, Mr. Skinner returned, holding a small cardboard box filled with some smallish apples. Gee, thanks, everyone said, surprised, as he handed the apples around. The apples looked red and good in the light from the door. Everybody at about the same time bit into them. Ugh, pah, they all said, spitting it out. Apples were mushy and brown inside and tasted terrible. You came here yapping for apples, didn't you? Yapped Mr. Skinner. And I gave you apples, didn't I? What's the matter? Aren't they good enough for you? They were good enough last year when you came around and tried to steal them and broke all my tree limbs. No, we didn't. Honest, Mr. Skinner, pleaded the biggest ghost. And who stole all my green corn and frightened my hens so they wouldn't lay? And then you come around here begging for my good apples. Well, they're all picked and sold, so you can just go home or I'll... Flash your nose at him, whispered the pirate, tugging at Blanche's skirts. Scare him. Blanche winked her nose on and off venomously, but he just snorted at her and slammed the door. Why, he wasn't even impressed, said the gypsy in fury, and it's a perfectly frightening nose, too. Let's soap his windows, said the middle-sized ghost. Anybody got any soap? Too bad none of the kids carry it anymore, sighed the tall witch. It'd be good to have some in case of an emergency, like this. I know, Blanche whispered. Rocket, you do something. Up on that windowsill with you, and give him the you-know-what. The black cat's eyes got yellower. Softly, she leaped up to the windowsill, then stretched up onto her hind legs, and scratched with her front claws up and down the screen. It sounded worse than gravel being grated on a sidewalk and squeaky chalk on a blackboard. On top of this, she let out a caterwauling yell that tore through the night, frightful enough to make people jump out of their shoes. The door flew open and out rushed Mr. Skinner, madder than an old hornet. He had a slingshot and he meant business. Everybody turned at once and fled. He took after them down the road, but he was too angry to aim well. The stones from his slingshot spattered at their feet, but nobody was hit. On her broom, meanwhile, Blanche spiraled around his house and up to the chimney. Smoke was curling out of it. He's got a mighty cozy fire down there, she said to herself, but he won't have it for long. She landed on the steep ridge of the roof and then climbed cautiously down to the big brick chimney. Leaning her broom against it, she boosted herself up so she could blow down it. Putting a hearth fire out was a trick that Minnie Max had taught her only a week or so before, and this was Blanche's first chance to try it by herself. She took a big breath of air and blew down the chimney as hard as she could, thinking just the right words as she did this and giving each blow just the right swirl. With the third blow down, the smoke slunk back. She raised her head and took another deep gulp of fresh air and blew again. She blew again and again until her ears buzzed and her nose turned green. Down below, the smoke came out of the opened door in a great cloud. Mr. Skinner, thinking for sure his house was on fire, stopped chasing his visitors and ran back toward the porch. Blanche straddled her broom and gave a spring up into the air. Down she swooped over his head, buzzing him and laughing, but he was running too fast to see her. She caught up with the rest of the crowd on the corner of Maple Street, where they had gathered around Rocket. The gypsy was trembling so much her earrings were jingling like sleigh bells. The short ghost had torn a sheet and the eye holes in his pillowcase were switched way around to the back of his head so he couldn't see which way he was going. Golly, breathed the cowboy as Blanche dismounted from her broom. That sure beats walking. Doesn't it have a switch either? The tallest ghost asked. Blanche smiled. No, it doesn't need a switch. Not even an engine? Asked the middle ghost. Blanche thought a minute. Well, I guess there's a sort of one. What kind of fuel do you use? The tallest ghost asked again. Well, Blanche hesitated again. The cowboy said, it doesn't need fuel, dope. It works by concentration, like her nose. Yes, I guess that's it, said Blanche. I think how high I need to fly, and that's all there is to it. Let me try it, the pirate begged. I can concentrate. No, you don't, said his sister. You'll fall off and break your arm just like you did on the tire swing. It only works for me, said Blanche. I've got to go home, said the smallest ghost in a muffled tone, trying to pull his pillowcase straight. So have we, the tall witch said, grabbing at her little brother. So long, Blanche. Here, I want to give her these first, said the pirate, wriggling out of her grasp. He dropped 3 sticky black jelly beans into Blanche's sack. When she tried to thank him, he shouted back, Oh, that's all right. I only like the orange kind. Blanche and Brockett soared over town again. The streets were nearly deserted, and most of the houses were dark. I can't understand why people always want to go to bed so early, just when things are beginning to get interesting, Blanche said to Brockett. If somebody were only still awake, we could ring some more doorbells. A little farther on, she looked down and saw a lighted house with several cars parked along the street in front of it. Look, maybe it's a party, and they might have some extra candy and nuts. She landed expertly on the front lawn, and almost before she could ring the bell, the door was opened wide. Hello, said a man. Come on in. Oh, I thought you were the Jennings. They're late, and everyone else is here. Oh my, said a lady looking over his shoulder. It's just a little girl. And look at that cute costume. Out by yourself Halloweening, dear? Blanche nodded and winked her nose at them. Trick or treat? She asked properly. Hey, everybody, come here, said the man excitedly. Look at this. She's got a neon nose. A dozen people got out of their chairs and came over to crowd around the door. What a darling little kitty, said one lady, leaning down to pick up Rocket. Be careful, ma'am, said Blanche. She doesn't like humans very much. Listen to that, giggled the lady. She said humans, just like she was a real little witch. Isn't she precious? Aren't you out pretty late by yourself? Asked another lady, looking at her watch. What will your mother say? It's almost midnight. Then Blanche remembered the flight meeting. It would be leaving sharp at midnight from Dead Man's Bluff. Excuse me, everybody, she cried out. I've got to go right now. I'm going to be late again. But they made her wait while they filled her brown paper bag with chocolate mints, salted nuts, pumpkin seeds, and pretzels. Then they made her wink her nose on and off for them just one more time. Don't fall off your broom, little witch, said one lady fondly as Blanche ran down the front steps. Afterwards, the lady peeped out of the window over the door and gave a scream. I'm positively sure I saw that little girl hop on her broom and fly away. The other people at the party roared with laughter and wouldn't believe she wasn't joking. Aloft in the late night air, Blanche wasn't laughing. She was worried. It looked as though, after all her trouble in trying to get started on time, she was going to be late anyhow. As she came to Dead Man's Bluff for a landing, she could see all of the witches in the scurry lined up in flight formation. Minnie Max was pulling out her watch to show Josephine and saying triumphantly, "You see, I told you she'd be late again." Blanche settled down meekly at the end of the formation. At least they hadn't taken off yet. Scurry number 13 made a beautiful showing against the moon that Halloween night, and afterwards they danced and sang and had refreshments up on Dead Man's Bluff. Josephine ladled out the brew. Blanche passed around the nuts, candy, pretzels, and 3 jelly donuts carefully cut into quarters. "Mighty good donuts," said the Grande Madame, looking around for more. "Where did you say you got them, Blanche?" "Out trick-or-treating," said Blanche. "That's what made me late tonight. But you meet the most interesting people that way. If you ladies think you can find time for it next Halloween, I'll take you along too." The end. Yay. Actually, I can do something. Hold on one second. Let's see if I still have it here. All right, can I do this? Can I do this? Hold on a second. Yeah, that's what I was trying to do, Jeanne. Let's see. Hopefully it won't be too loud. A thank you, a thank you, a thank you. All right, so once again, another spooky story time. Yay, applause, applause, applause. And so if you came in a little bit later, that's okay. You can always go back to the replay. And also, this is the third spooky story time reading of The Blue-Nosed Witch by Margaret Embry that I've done, because I did it last year and the year before. So yeah, this is the third. I'm pretty sure this is the third one. So I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading it, and I think I'm getting smoother each time around. But it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's not Halloween until I do that. So thank you all for joining me for that. And, you know, just taking part in it. And it's a very, I don't know, it's a very weird thing that I like to do, but it's, you know, it's my tradition, and I'm happy to share my tradition with you. Also, books. Speaking of books, let me show you this before we get to the weekend forecast. Before I go, have you heard about this book? Have you heard about this book? So this is my book. I got the author copies this week, and I did do an unboxing, unveiling, surprise unveiling or unboxing on my my Book of Face channel and my Tube of You channel. So you can go ahead there and go to there and search, but it's like one of the more recent ones, and it's just like, yeah, flipping through. Enjoy. Got that new book smell too. Yeah. Oh, awesome. I can't wait to get mine. I can't wait for people to have it in your hot little hands either. Yeah. Mine supposedly arrives in a month, end of November. Well, I mean, here's the thing. One, I'm the author, and I was getting a little bit crabby because I found out that some people in the UK had already received it, which makes total sense because Flame Tree Publishing is a London-based publisher. So makes total sense. But I asked, and so I asked about my author copies, and I got my author copies. So yay. But yes, The launch date, the official publication date of How to Read Tarot is November 22nd of 2022. And no, I had nothing to do with the publication date and the numerology associated with the publication date. So that's just a happy coincidence, happy synchronicity there. If it's taking a while after November 22nd, like then you may want to contact the publisher or contact wherever it is that you ordered from. If you didn't order from the publisher directly, like contact the where you did order it from and follow up about it. But yes, it is a perfect date, isn't it? And I had nothing to do with it whatsoever. All right, let's do the weekend forecast. And I'm feeling actually the Visionary Oracle. So I'm going to grab that and we're going to pull a card from the Visionary Oracle. Okay. And by the way, speaking of books and the writing of my book, Jamie got this for me and sent it to me, and it was really helpful. So it's the Visionary Oracle from Comfort and Heart, and it is an intuitive tool that can help you gain daily wisdom and insight into your creative challenges. And so it has 4 categories: intellectual, air; energetic, fire; practical, earth; and emotional, water. And each card is a unique work of art designed to tap into your true creative depths. And it's basically, it was created to answer the question, what do I need to know right now to align with my highest creative self? So makes a lot of sense. And I would pull a card when I was in the middle of writing How to Read Tarot, just to see where I could focus or where I should focus, because I did have a list of chapters that my publisher wanted, but sometimes I was just like, I don't feel like writing about the minor arcana today. I feel like, but I don't know what I feel like writing about. I know that I have these 14 chapters to write, but like trying to guide myself in, it's just like, where's my creativity telling me or talking me or, you know, guiding me towards today. And then sometimes I would get a little bit of a God smack or tarot smack or oracle card smack, where it's just like, you're overthinking this. Just write. You can edit, but you can't edit if you don't have any words on the page. So let's do the weekend forecast. So it's very good. It's a very good deck to pick up if you are creative, if you're an artist or a writer or whatever. But even if you don't feel like you're a creative person, I would still encourage you to pick up this deck, because being alive is created. Learning how to survive is created. Being a human is creative. It's actually part of our natural birthright as humans, is to be creative. So pick up a copy of the Visionary Oracle. Even if you don't label yourself as a creative person, you are in fact creative. So what do we most need to know for this weekend? Interesting. So the card that we're getting is number 49, Cover Song, which I think might be a water card. Let me go to the guidebook. Let me put this down first. I have stuff all over the place, just piles all over the place. All right, so Cover Song, number 49. Yes, water. So this is a water card. Cover Song, good artist copy, great artist steal. And that is a quote from Pablo Picasso. There is no artist that starts out without some copying. Do not be afraid of using something you're inspired by as a jumping off point for creating something new. That's how every artist has ever operated. You find your voice through the unique ways you diverge. You don't have to be totally original. Some of the best works are rehashing the work of other artists or works. The best cover songs are recognizable renditions of the original while still being uniquely their own. What old idea can you put a wholly new spin on right now? So think about that for this weekend. That is your weekend forecast from the Visionary Oracle cover song. Put your spin on things. You don't have to completely create something brand new to be creative. All right, that's it. I gotta go. I thank you all for watching so much, joining me for the weekend forecast, joining me for the spooky story time annual Halloween tradition of reading of the Blue-Nosed Witch. I want to remind you that I do these broadcasts every Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this coming Friday, we do have a very special guest talking about books, by the way. We have a very special guest coming up on Friday's edition of the episode. She reached out to me, and I'm very, very honored by that. It is Jenna Matlin, formerly known as Queen of Wands Tarot, and she is promoting her brand new book, Will You Give Me a Reading? I believe that's from Llewellyn Publications. And yeah, we're gonna be talking tarot and tarot reading. So I think you really don't want to miss it. I think it's going to be a fantastic and great episode. So you're very welcome. You're very welcome. Have a great weekend to you too. I'm going to put this back up again. So yeah, definitely you want to tune in this coming Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where I'll be talking to Jenna Matlin and about her new book, Will You Give Me a Reading? So yes, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you all so much for watching. Let me take that away. And yep, I am Hilary, professional tarot reader and EFT practitioner, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with the most beautiful of gifts, your own intuition. Because yes, my friends, don't argue with me. You have intuition. Have a wonderful, wonderful night and a great weekend too. Bye.